Hey everyone, welcome to the Smiling Homeschooler Podcast. We're glad you can join us. As always, before we begin, we want to say thank you to Teaching Textbooks for making the Smiling Homeschooler possible and just being an amazing partner and supporter of what we do in the homeschooling community. So if you are needing a curriculum, if the one you already got is not working out, then go check out teachingtextbooks.com. They have a free trial and sample lessons, and you can pretty much pick up any curriculum for almost any age for math. And if you have questions, you can give them, reach out to them. They've got great customer service as well. Also, thank you to Samaritan Ministries and Redeem Health Share, where members are committed to honoring Christ and serving one another through healthcare needs. As my dad Todd likes to say, we use, love, and recommend Samaritan Ministries, and you can learn more at samaritanministries.org/familyman. Definitely go check them out, and we appreciate their support as well. All right, Dad, if you're ready, go ahead and get started. Let's go.
Well, I'm beat. We've been working at Maggie and Josh. They not just got married. They got married a year ago. And so on Thursday of last week or Friday of last week, they closed on their new house, which is brand spanking new at only 140 years old.
Cool.
Josh, when they first saw it, said it looked like a haunted house, or the town museum, a museum for a town. Because it's brick.
Patty thinks it looks like a castle.
It's got brick and kind of an octagon.
It does
tower
have a tower,
in the center.
so I mean, that's pretty much a castle.
It's pretty cool. But it looked really good before we got a hold of it, and for the last 2.5 days, we've been tearing it apart. We're rewiring it. We're putting in 2 bathrooms, a laundry room, and it's just can be a little overwhelming at times. So we've been working on that, and which brings me to a good point, that as your kids get older and you're thinking about who they're going to marry, make sure their future father-in-law does not have a no skills. Like, you don't want him to be a lawyer, or you don't want him to be like a doctor.
Unless
you want him to own
everything.
a backhoe or he owns a garage or something with some skills. Stump grinder, that's what you want, because that could be good for the rest of your life.
You just live across the street from your brother whose father-in-law has all those things.
Exactly. Lots of tools. But it is cool because it kind of feels like the culmination of homeschooling. When you see, like, we were working over the house, and several of the brothers came over and helped. Not all the brothers came. Ben didn't.
Nope.
But he did come yesterday to see how things were going.
Yeah.
And,
I'll make it over there one of these nights.
It doesn't matter.
Gotta wait for that really hard
But
stuff.
it is super cool when you see all your sons working together on a house. Even though I did see on the way home, I saw there's a house by us that must be digging their water line from their house to the sidewalk. They're digging it by hand, and I just assumed it was a man, and it was a wife. She was out there digging tonight in the dark by herself.
Oh my word!
So when you're looking for a daughter-in-law for your son,
yeah,
that's who you want to pick.
Can confirm that none of your daughter-in-laws, except maybe McKenna, would ever do that. So
McKenna probably would.
McKenna probably stopped though after she was only 8 months pregnant.
Yeah, exactly.
She wouldn't for last month.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. But anyway, I think it feels pretty official that we are almost, if you haven't started school, you're getting serious about starting school, because we're running down for the month for August, not October. And it feels a little, I hate to say the F word, but it feels a little bit like that. School is in our faces. So I hope tonight, as we talk about kind of another specific thing as we're gearing up for the school year, I hope that it'll be super encouraging. Yeah. You should be encouraged. But before we get started, Ben and Catherine, I've been posting over at Facebook. I assume every once in a while you look over there to see what your old dad is posting. Mm-hmm. But I've been kind of doing this series because it's kind of been fascinating to me. I've been just thinking about it. Kind of new homeschooler versus old homeschooler. Like I did the first one. I was thinking about art boxes, and I thought, how when you're a new homeschooler, I wrote the art box with a new pack of crayons, blunt nose, scissors, eraser, Elmer's glue stick, and white glue bottle, pack of number 2 pencils, pencil sharpener, pen, protractor, compass, bandages, water purifier, and handy wipes. And then as you're an older homeschooler or a seasoned homeschooler, now you have an empty Kleenex box with 3 broken crayons, 1 worn down pencil, a headless Bluey eraser, and a half-eaten Pop-Tart. So it changes over time. Like start time. When you're a new homeschooler, your start time is your alarm set for 6:30 a.m., breakfast done by 7 a.m., chores and animals fed by 7:30, pledge to the flag and prayer at 8 a.m. sharp. Old homeschooler, yeah, whatever. Curriculum. New homeschooler, Bob Jones, Rebecca, Sunlight, or My Father's World, maybe all of them. Critical thinking skills in Latin phonics with a little apologia, mystery of history thrown in for science, history, and worldview. Old homeschooler, a little bit of this and a little bit of that with a lot of life thrown in. I think I had one more. Oh, the schoolroom. The new homeschooler, school desk, American flag, alphabet hung around the top of the room, cute storage bins from IKEA, pencil and scissors caddy, and posters and chore charts that adorn the walls. Old homeschooler, wherever you happen to be at the time, kitchen, car, porch, doctor's office, or couch, or even in bed. And I was thinking about that, and I thought, do you guys have some memory of when the beginning of the school year, what we did or what it felt like to you with mom? And I'm sure it'd be fun to ask Jed what the beginning of the school year feels like him. He's like, because he didn't do it this year, but last year when I said, hey, school's starting up, and he goes, is that still a thing? And I'm like, yes, it's still a thing.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Give me your homeschool start of the year memory impressions.
I remember really early on. I mean, this would have probably been the first few years. Maybe we didn't know what day we were going to start school, or maybe I just didn't, but we would go up to the attic, which is where our schoolroom was, and mom had a little stack for each of us. So it had a new folder, maybe some new crayons or notebook or whatever. And I remember thinking that was so fun. That was, I guess, probably after you were a pastor, so I would have been older than that, but it was cheap, but it felt fun and special, and I liked school, so I was always excited to start, but I might have been the only one, I don't know.
And you've kind of been doing some preschool with Addie.
Yeah.
And maybe even, I don't know about Alice, but so what's your day looking like there?
Yeah, this is our second day, so not too foolproof yet, but our first, we sat down on the couch yesterday to read a Bible story to kick things off, and Ellis ran crying to his room because it wasn't the animal story he wanted. So I was like, well, that's a good start. We haven't even started yet. But Addie's super excited. She's wanted to go from the second she wakes up kind of thing. And she's smart. I mean, she's a lot like me. She's going to learn probably quickly.
She's book smart.
And yes, book smart, school smart. So, but yeah, we've just been doing it super gentle, reading books, the vet stories. Do you remember those? James Harriet stories. Well, basically what I remember doing, and they've been loving that. So we're just she's technically in preschool, so we're just having fun at this point.
How have you been?
Yeah. I mean, I'll take it from the, I was thinking about this last week when mom was on. I mean, honestly, one thing that stands out to me is just, I was trying to think of a movie reference because I feel like this happens where she had all these hopes and dreams. And I just remember we were just all right, guys, here we go. Let's destroy mom's happiness. And it just felt like we weren't doing it on purpose necessarily, but just I just remember her trying and just having, okay, we're going to do this. And we were all just not having it. And then she'd probably be crying. But then at that point, we kind of did feel bad because it was, or at least I did, because it was well, I know she was excited about this, and she had a good attitude at first, and we didn't. And so I just remember a lot of times that first day early on being a little rough. But yeah, I do remember later on the fun of, going and getting the new I guess materials or whatever it is for the year and getting everything going to Walmart. And I remember one time Mom got me a whole little like jar of like highlighters that I'd never used because I was like, oh, I'll use them, I promise, and then I never touched them ever. But so I mean there was a little bit of fun, but then like once we started day 3 and we wanted to play something else, we didn't really want to do it. So I don't remember Kat's attitude of being so excited to do it personally. So
yeah,
but I don't
know if anyone saw Dude Perfect had their school stereotypes come out, so we watched those a couple times. But Josh was like, did you guys ever take a test like that with the little like tabs apparently? And I was like, Josh, I think the first test I ever took was for like my permit in high school.
Yeah,
like,
seriously.
We didn't have...
Really, and if you ever doubt like if should you be homeschooling or not, you should watch things like that, because basically homeschool or school stereotypes are all about how kids are abused by each other, put down by each other, beat up by each other.
Yeah.
The teachers are mean to them. I mean, it's all negative connotations on all of them.
They do make fun of the homeschool
funny.
team initially, but then they actually come around and they're incredible, which I thought was funny. I was like, that's like a little subtle positive for homeschooling there.
A couple of the dudes are homeschooling now, actually.
Nice. We should try to get one of them on. But we should keep moving, Dad, because I don't want to run out of time here. Because our main topic was we were talking about writing, because we haven't had a specific episode dedicated to it in a while. But it's a topic that I think
this is it.
Yep, that I think a lot of. It's just a tough subject for a lot of homeschoolers, including, we went through a lot of different stuff with a lot of different kids and who had various levels of interest in it. But I thought maybe the first kind of angle we should talk about is just what does writing look like in this day and age, where, back then, you read anything like historical and they wrote these long letters to each other and everything had to be communicated through writing. And, that was that was an essential major tool to even, to communicate, to work, to do anything. How much of that still is present? How much, especially with, we've got the rise of AI now these last few years, which I think is honestly going to drastically change a lot of what, how writing and what people are just, doing stuff. And even, computers and spell check already had some of that. But so I guess maybe we could start there. And if Kath, you want to give your thoughts first and Dad, and then, I can also.
Well, let me just start off by, clarifying even some of your question. Why do you think there's a problem with that? Why do you think all this pressure? I mean, like you said, it's kind of a hard thing. I wonder why it's such a hard thing. Why is writing so hard?
Yeah.
I think some people are wired for it and some people just totally aren't.
But is there a pressure that we all have to be a certain type of writer?
I think it's probably the same pressure as with math or with anything else. You kind of feel like my kid needs to be able to do these basic things, whether it's reading, writing, and arithmetic or whatever. It feels like writing is kind of one of the biggies that you feel like somebody somewhere set a standard that you feel like your kid has to be able to achieve, like some level, whatever that level is in your head. And I think there's a lot of, like, at least moms feel the pressure because that's one of those biggies that people talk about or look at.
I mean, my guess would be, with math, if you're not a math person, but, you can learn how to do, addition, subtraction, division, all that. And may not love it, but once you kind of understand the concept, it's pretty concrete no matter who you are. But I think writing is difficult because it's communicating and it's putting your thoughts into, another form. And I think especially for people or kids or whatever that don't maybe like to express things quite as much as others, they have to now take those thoughts, which maybe they're not even good about speaking them, and now they have to put them down on a piece of paper. And that's just, it can be really daunting. I think it's also hard because there is correct forms of grammar and stuff like that, but writing can be so many different things. It's super open-ended. It can feel very just like, I don't even know where to start, what to begin, what to do. And I think for a lot of people, that's just extremely like debilitating. It's like if, I think it could even feel like okay, here's a giant pile of parts. Now put together an engine build a house out of nothing. And for a lot of people, that is just like, I have no idea where to even do anything. I have a coworker who talks about that, where he's like, even writing a letter for someone, he's just like, I have no idea. Like, what do I even do? Like, I don't have any idea where to start,
But does he communicate through text to you or emails to you?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he does. I mean, he definitely, I do go through him a lot of times just to kind of help, double check it if he's sending it to customers.
No, but that's when he's sending it to someone other than you. But when he just
for sure
interacts with you,
totally.
And that's what I feel like. I mean, like where you said, they'd write those long letters. They were communications. I mean, they were, and that's what a text is today. An email is today. Facebook post is today. It is communication. It does change, but I feel like sometimes, really, if you would have asked me, because I was a public school kid, if you would have asked me what's the purpose of writing, I would have said to write papers. Because I didn't know it was communication. I didn't know that there was a purpose. All I did was I had to write a report on horses. So I went to the encyclopedia, I opened the horse book page, I plagiarized it, I just wrote it word for word. I changed 3 or 4 words around and I called it a paper. And I mean, like, I thought that's because I didn't think there was any reason. Now when they're like, if I was in this age right now, I'd go to Wikipedia, I'd copy and paste, boom, change a few words around, and it would be my paper.
No, you would just go to AI, tell me exactly what I want, and it will do the whole thing.
Exactly.
So you don't even have to copy and paste.
But but that's not the purpose.
Right.
And I feel like that's what, I guess I'm answering my own question. Sometimes I feel like what we've taken is we've said, okay, writing is for communication. We give a little speech on day 1 of school, but then we go, okay, now write a paper on horses. And I just think it's a stupid thing. I'm sorry if you made your kid write a paper on horses. I don't get it. I think there are some kids, if you would have said that to Catherine, she would have said, oh, I'll write a paper on horses. And she would have write a little story about a horse named Misty. And, but for Ben would have frozen up and said, I don't even like horses. Why do I have to write a paper on horses? How long does it have to be? All that.
I think writing is not like math, and that like math, you can like 2 + 2 always equals 4, right? So your kids are going to learn 2 + 2 = 4, but writing looks so different for everybody. So like me writing a paper versus Ben versus Abe, I mean, it's going to look so vastly different. And I think a more intense or maybe more falcon or swan mom might struggle with that, because it's really easy to compare when you see, I do a little writing class and kids would send me in like an assignment, and some of the girls would send me in 2 chapters, and then maybe one of the boys would send me like a 3-sentence paragraph, and that's okay. Like, it's their levels are so different from each other. But I think if you have multiple kids with varying levels, that's might be hard to kind of not look down on the one kid who maybe just doesn't have as many words to say.
I mean, I personally do remember it being talked about how like, well, you're going to have to know how to write a paper is kind of like one of the motivations at the time. And I mean, obviously mom also knew the other one, which is you're going to have to be able to communicate. I think the hard part is it's hard to simulate a business writing style, like, so you do just they kind of give you things like horses or whatever, because it gives you some kind of direction and some kind of not vagueness of just like write an essay, but I do think does lose kind of its relevancy for a lot of people, but I do think there is value in it. I think one thing that I found, and this is, I don't think necessarily true for everyone, and this is where your kids, so like what does it help them? I really value it in terms of it helps me think out, like what's in my head and get it out to like actually think on paper. And that's a form of writing that I think is really helpful personally, is like if I'm like struggling with like, okay, I got a huge amount of stuff I'm trying to figure out how to do at work or something, and actually like writing it out a little bit and kind of thinking through like steps or tasks or whatever. Like it's not really writing in terms of like storytelling, but it's writing in terms of, thinking through a process or a project or whatever else, and then there's also forms of obviously long form, like writing a book and stuff like that. But the amount of people who are actually going to write a book is pretty low, I would say. I don't necessarily know if that is our main like motivator for teaching writing for the average kid, unless your kid loves reading, and stuff like that. And then maybe they will.
Motivation for hardly any. I mean, because the truth is, 99% of all the kids are not going to write a book, and
And if your
I
kid
don't
is
think that
gonna
should be
write
our
a book,
goal.
they're gonna do it whether you give them the
Right.
best writing course or not. That's just in them.
But that is where you then would say, if you're seeing that interest, like Kat, which she's written multiple books because she loved it even at a young age, is obviously really pushing that then, like helping you, do that more and more frequently than someone like
But
Abe.
not even pushing it.
Yeah.
Like my mom,
Encouraging
mom
and assisting.
did such a great job basically of just letting me write. Because just practically speaking, pretty much everyone I think did Institute for Excellence in Writing in our family, except for me, because it didn't work for my brain. I didn't like having to kind of copy what they started with and just adjust it slightly. I wanted to write my own thing. And so she pretty much just said, okay, don't worry about it. Just go write. And I'm not going to grade it. I'm just going to let you write. And then when I got to high school, I think my maybe junior, senior year, I did a program. It was called The Power in Your Hands. It was like a 1 or 2 year program that basically taught me all of the like formal writing styles that I needed, like all across the board, everything from like a devotional to, an opinion paper or a persuasive paper or something. So that worked for me. But if I had loved writing and mom had forced me into like kind of the same category that everyone else was in, it might have fizzled out because I would have just felt like this is so boring. This is not fun anymore. But I really appreciated that she was able to kind of just say, go do it, but I'm not going to control it,
By the way, I just looked up.
Is what that would be.
It says professional or employed writers make up about 0.03% of the general population. And I was not a writer. I was not a reader growing up. I didn't want to be a writer. I didn't like writing. And now I spend every single day of my life almost writing something. So, I mean, it just is amazing to me how God uses, just normal people to do what he wants them to do, and he changes it midstream. Hey, we should do a commercial right now because we're going to run out of time. Let me just say, I'll start off by saying we want to thank Samaritan Ministries and Redeem Health Share for making today's show possible. Part of being a parent means making sure your family is well taken care of, and with rising prices on everything, you can't do it alone. As members of Samaritan Ministries, we don't have to. It's Christians helping Christians with healthcare burdens through prayer, encouragement, and financial help. It works for us, and it could work for your family too. Get started at SamaritanMinistries.org/FamilyMan.
Yeah, and we also want to say thank you to Teaching Textbooks for making this possible and supporting what we do. They're an amazing math curriculum. They help homeschoolers smile. Our family's using them, and we think you should too. So go check them out, teachingtextbooks.com. We really appreciate their support, and we believe in what they do. Yeah, so I mean, kind of going back to then, I guess, obviously, like not everyone's going to write a book, but I do think people will have to still communicate. But I do wonder,
does texting count as communication?
Sure, it counts as communication. I don't think it really counts as writing very much, personally. I think it helps more with spelling than actually like formulating long thought out things, for me at least. I mean, I wouldn't say it really like my texts are just don't even make sense a lot of times in terms of like what actually is, written out. So,
Texts don't either. I feel like writing is kind of one of those things that affects so many different areas of life, so many different like career paths you might go down, or even just being a mom or teaching Sunday school or whatever. Like, it seems to me like one of those things that as an adult, as a parent, you're probably going to use writing more in your everyday than pre-calc or whatever. And so I feel like if you can equip your kid with the basics in a way that makes them feel like they have the option, because it's not fun to get to college if you do that, or to be an adult and feel like I literally cannot write a paragraph. I can't write an email. I don't want my kids to grow up feeling like I wasn't equipped or I feel dumb in this area. So I feel like writing, because it affects so many different things and you can use it in so many different ways, even if it's just journaling, it seems like one of the things that really will pay off in lots of small ways, even if they don't go on to be a writer. And that doesn't mean they need to be writing a book report every week, but it might mean that you try to give your kids the basic tools.
Yeah.
Well, I would even say that even though Ben said he didn't think texting was writing, I would say emailing and texting can be writing. Maybe not
they can
texting as
be.
much, but emailing can be. And if I had a reluctant writer, I would just want them to write to me, the way they talk. And, because I would have said of all our kids, we have 8 children, I would say none of them could have written a paragraph except Catherine. I mean, even Ben, as, as genius level as he is, I never felt they'd get hung up. Now, if you ask them now,
it depends on what
I would
age you're
say they
talking. I think is a big portion too. I mean, at like 10 or 12, I would agree with that. I don't think like if you're talking high school, I don't agree with that. But
okay, well, I'm glad Ben doesn't agree with me, but I would stick to my original
Well, I think
statement.
it's important because
But
I think
they
having
are
expectation
communicators now.
for your kids though is important. Unlike age may play a factor. I do think writing really starts to kick in at an older age, I think, than like doing 2 + 2, for example. So I think obviously your kids are going to try to write a birthday letter maybe or something like as little age, but I think as they get in older is when it really, I think it can really start to fire for them and understand it and be able to use it when they're older, I think.
Would you say if? Because I would say if there is a need for it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
agree.
again, I think if you're still writing about horses and they don't care about horses,
Right.
they're not going to care.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when you, like, if your job is asking you to do something, I mean, I've had so many parents say, I didn't think my kid could write a sentence, and now that's all he does every day. He writes these legal documents for whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of truth in that. Again, and, we haven't talked about AI. AI is like a game changer. I'm not even sure any of my kids write my birthday cards anymore without the help of AI.
Dad doesn't write our birthday cards.
Yeah.
What are you talking
Seriously.
about? But I do think it's interesting. I think people now, like the Gen Zers, are saying, oh, that's AI. They're almost like shrugging it off because they know it's AI. A guy from our marriage group was just saying he put a post on Facebook and everyone was like, is this AI? And he was like, no, I literally wrote this myself. But I think it's really cool, but I kind of wonder if certain age groups are kind of almost shying away from it because they feel like it's not even real and they know
it's
it
not
and they
authentic.
can tell.
So, I mean, but I do think it is going to have a major impact because I think if kids do come to, or anyone does come to rely on it too heavily, I think you lose the ability to think for yourself in a lot of ways, so I think, it's like, even with my kids, and I definitely am preaching to myself, but if I always do something for them, the chances that they're going to become really good, or do it, well themselves, they're not going to, because they're just gonna be like, well, Dad will do it for me. I don't ever have to learn how to do that, So if your kid can just take, hey, here's literally like barely, put together sentence, spit me out this a nice clean version or whatever. I mean, you are going to probably not be great at doing it without AI, which I totally get. Like, it is so easy and so simple to do. It's pretty wild, One tip that Mom always did that I think was so effective and has helped me through everything. And this is where, like, even if I'm not writing, books or whatever, but is reading what I'm writing out loud after the fact and like actually trying to talk it out, like say like, hello, sir, how are you today? And actually like saying it really highlights if the thing makes sense or if it flows right. I really appreciated Mom's editing
well, really, that's how I write.
Yeah.
I'm just talking. I'm talking, and then, someone in my head is writing down the things that I'm talking. And
then you
once
send it
you
to
learn
Mom
to talk
and she
good,
makes it legible.
you can write good.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just about out of time. How about closing writing statements? Catherine, go.
I don't know. I think writing is important. I think you should help your child enjoy writing. So maybe that looks like, writing a story. Maybe it looks like writing a paper. Maybe it looks like writing about an insect or how to rebuild an engine. I don't know. But I think if you can get your kid to enjoy writing, I think they will feel confidence in a lot of areas as they grow older that they could maybe struggle in if they have no concept of it or if they've been made to feel like they can't.
Yep.
Okay, Ben, go.
I mean, I would say one is try not to critique much if they do write anything early on. I think, just being able to get the words out and then letting them go back through, or you afterwards, like if you feel like you're constantly having to edit yourself, I think that is a really I can't even say it right now. It's just really debilitating to even try to write. I just think that is something that a lot of people feel like it has to be right the first time, and it doesn't. And I think if you're grading or doing all that all the time and you have a child that's not interested or scared or doesn't enjoy it, don't do that, because I think that'd just kill it personally. Also, just recognizing that I don't think every kid will love to write, just like every kid doesn't love to do math or love to read or whatever else. So some of your kids, they might be able to do it to some extent, but they probably will never be like Kat and just absolutely love it, So, and that's okay, because God has made everyone differently. So, I think those are my two main things. At this point.
My closing comments are that my two kids are amazing. I mean, it's amazing how homeschooling works. And I would agree with both of them. I know that Ben's second, and maybe I said this a few weeks ago, Hudson was not he's kind of a reluctant writer, and he wrote a note on my computer on a piece of paper. It says Pops is stinky, and and stinky is, it's hard. No, Pops is so stinky.
That's
and he was
funny.
looking at it today, and he says, "What's this say, Pops?" And I said, "You wrote it. Hudson has your name on the top. It says Pops is so stinky." And he goes, "Is that the way it's spelled? Did I spell it right?" And I go, "You're pretty close."
Yeah.
And it's terribly spelled at the end.
Sweet.
But man, that's how you encourage it. You just say, "Way to go," and then you just keep going.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I think that's kind of the same thing with like art, where they say a lot of people stop being artistic, quote unquote, because, once they're old enough, people start critiquing it and then they go, "Oh, I'm not a very good artist." And so I think if you can, if your kids are trying to write stuff as a young age, just being the biggest encourager you can there. And also it could be handwriting, could be typing, I mean, either way, there's so many different forms now, but so yeah. Want to close this out, Dad, or was that the close there?
No, that was the close it out, Ben.
Well, hopefully that helps you smile more this week, and hopefully if you are starting this week, that it goes well. Don't get discouraged if you have a rough start. It's okay. Keep plugging away at it. Maybe take it slow if you need to. And again, we want to thank Teaching Textbooks for making this all possible and supporting us. And we think you'll really enjoy their curriculum if you haven't tried it before. We do believe in it because we use it. So go check them out, teachingtextbooks.com. Also, thank you to Samaritan Ministries and Redeem Health Share, where members are committed to honoring Christ and serving one another through healthcare needs. As my dad Todd likes to say, we use, love, and recommend Samaritan Ministries, and you can learn more in the show notes. Actually, no, you can learn more at samaritanministries.org/familyman, and we really appreciate their support. So go check them out. But all right, everyone, have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Don't forget to smile.